end quote. I found this article so ironic because it's the sign I purchased that stimulated me to write this article. In 1912, he was fined $20 due to a violation of the Pure Food and Drug Act of 1906. Affidavits filed by U.S. Attorney O'Brien charged that bottles were not properly labeled. A shipment of Vino Częstochowski, a remedy for the stomach, was shipped from Buffalo to Pittsburgh, claiming to be a product of Poland when it was manufactured in the U.S. In 1914, prosecutor Bain said Skarżynski's label depicts a monastery and monks making wine in Częstochow, Russia. This territory was returned to Poland after World War I. Skarżynski told court he was from Russian Poland, was exiled to Siberia because of his activity in politics. He escaped from Siberia more than 13 years ago and came to this country. He brought with him a formula for the wine. Bain urged leniency on the part of the court because the shipment was seized 2 years ago and he had changed his method of branding so that it conforms with the law. In 1916, an article appeared in the Buffalo Courier Express titled, "Government Does Not Like This Wine." Skarżynski was brought to court again. This time he was given leniency as he was up in years and he had promised to quit his business. The neighborhood I grew up in was known as the Slaughterhouse District. At lunchtime, the slaughterhouse workers headed to the local tavern in their blood-stained white aprons to wet their whistles. I vividly recall Henry Kuznarek, my neighbor, with a glowing cigarette in his mouth. My dad had written a book on the industry entitled Dynamics of an East Buffalo Ethnic Neighborhood. One of the byproducts of slaughterhouses was large amounts of animal fat, which was used in making soap. Larkin Soap Company, while located outside of my neighborhood, purchased this byproduct. John Larkin's company was the third largest mail-order company in the United States, known for their famous soap premiums like Larkin Furniture and the highly collectible Del Dare Ware China. One of Larkin's soaps and perfumes were named Modeska after Helen Modjeska, a famous Polish Shakespearean actress and opera singer whose acting troupe traveled the world performing. John must have been enamored with this ravishing beauty. What does his wife think of this? Today in Larkinville, part of Buffalo where the Larkin factories were located, now a utopian city Rust Belt Renaissance district, where the Adirondack chairs, hula hoops, live music, and food trucks in the summer. There hangs a signed photograph of Helen Modjeska to John Larkin. Larkin wasn't the only one enraptured with her beauty, as a California confectionery named a candy bar after her as well. I have a book about her entitled Starring Madame Modjeska. Larkin Soap brought to Buffalo Elbert Hubbard, who was John's brother-in-law. Elbert left Larkin to start the arts and craft Roycroft movement in nearby East Aurora, New York. Elbert and his wife were killed when the Lusitania was sunk by the Germans. Larkin also commissioned Franklin Lloyd Wright to build his office building, which led to many other Wright-designed buildings in the Buffalo area.
The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Bruce, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from the March 6th, 2026 issue of the Tribune Sentinel, covering Niagara County and Grand Island on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Friends of Youngstown, working with village leaders to improve grounds, grow community. Article by Joshua Maloney. Park improvements funded in 2025 through Greenway and municipal monies are starting to take shape in the village of Youngstown. At Veterans Park, ball field fence installation is well underway, with dugout enhancements to follow. Over at Faulkner Park, Americans with Disabilities Act compliant bathrooms are set to be constructed once the weather improves. These projects were included in a 2025 proposal to the Niagara River Greenway Commission. The request was spearheaded by the Friends of Youngstown in partnership with the Village of Youngstown. Applicants sought and were awarded $240,993 from the Niagara County Host Community Standing Committee's ad hoc fund for municipalities that don't receive regular Greenway funding. Monies will go toward Phase 1 of extending the Greenway Trail, ultimately connecting Fort Niagara State Park to Joseph Davis State Park. $92,315 for the Village of Youngstown Trail connecting Fort Niagara State Park at the northern border to Youngstown Estate at the southern border, creating a walkway cycling loop within Veterans Park to connect the Play Activity Center, parking, and dog park. $72,800, plus bathroom utilities, $15,700, 12 signs, $29,000, butterfly trail landscaping, $5,000, bike racks, $7,791, benches, $7,133, water stations, $6,953, and project engineering, $4,300. The Village of Youngstown committed a total of $180,000 for the bathroom, $60,000, Department of Public Works labor, $40,000, and 10 shade trees, $8,000. Friends of Youngstown raised $9,500 for the ball field renovations. The nonprofit's founder, Christine Rath, was tasked with getting the Greenway Trail back on the table, she said, because I guess there was a couple years ago where Greenway actually came in and everyone was very negative about their proposal from the community standpoint. I think because they felt like it was just being pushed through and without community input. And so we formed a small subcommittee called River Trails, Roads and Rails, as part of Friends of Youngstown to define what the residents want. This project is the latest in a series of initiatives carried out by the Friends of Youngstown. Friends of Youngstown. When Rath returned to her hometown, she recognized the need for a funding mechanism to benefit the local community. Our goal is to support the municipality of Youngstown, 14174 zip code, she said of Friends of Youngstown. I grew up here and I moved back about 5 years ago. I volunteered to be on the Recreation Commission, and the Recreation Commission was actually doing fundraising for different village entities. But as the new mayor came on, Rob Reisman, we found out that municipalities aren't supposed to actually fundraise. Donations, of course, are super helpful, so I volunteered to head up the formation of a 501c3, Friends of Youngstown, and we actually got all of our paperwork approved and formed in April of 2023, Rath said. Our goal is to represent the community and to act as a funding agent. A lot of times, municipalities, when they go for large grants, such as the Greenway, they need to have community involvement demonstrated. They need to have alternate funding sources. We figured having a 501c3 would encourage community members and business members to donate, because you get a tax deduction being that it's a nonprofit versus just giving money to the village. I have to say, with Mayor Reisman and Deputy Mayor Stortecki, they've been so supportive of really bringing projects forward and really wanting to improve the village, not only from a recreation standpoint, but overall facilities, environment, and roads. We act as a fundraising organization. We stimulate community interest and get the community involved by volunteering at different activities that we hold and are just bringing forward different events and such. Rath added, we work with the YBPA and the Upward Niagara Chamber with promoting our events and getting input on what events we should hold and getting the businesses to support us. They sponsor us, they donate food, they give gift cards, different things like that, as we try to fundraise to actually improve the community. The impetus for these enhancements is simple: growth. There's studies that show if you improve your recreation opportunities for a community, families will come because they want to come to communities that are active and they have fun things to do for their kids and they feel this inclusiveness, Rath said. Over the past, I would say probably more than 20 years, there hasn't been a lot of spending in the village of Youngstown. It's just sort of been more status quo. But you've seen, ever since Rob Reisman and Rick Stortecki have led the charge here in the village, a lot more investment in the infrastructure and more investment in recreation programs. There have been a lot of young families moving into the village of Youngstown, even from Lewiston, and they've got a lot of kids. And we're sort of trying to bring back the Youngstown of old time. Not that we want to be Lewiston, because we don't. It's very business focused there, a lot of activities. We still want to be our quaint village of Youngstown, but we want to provide great programs, highlight our significance in history, and ensure that people have a good active lifestyle here. Improving recreation. Rath said the ball field, fencing itself, was probably as old as the same fencing that I played with when I was a kid back in the 70s. It had degraded. Recreation Director Jeff Gruen added the backstops. I can't even tell you how old they are. I've got to imagine they're almost original. They were falling apart. Spokes were sticking out at the ends. The bottom, the top, the dugouts were falling apart. The roof, it was just a mess. Everything about it. The look of it, it's the first thing you see when you drive down the street, is the fencing there besides the rec building there. It's just so visible. This was problematic for several reasons, not the least of which was the village of Youngstown connected with the town of Lewiston, and we are now sharing a softball-baseball program together, where instead of having individual communities doing their own baseball, softball programs, we're now sharing, Rath said. Those fields are used as all summer long by the girls' softball teams. So we wanted to really improve the overall Veterans Park ball field in order to really be a good host for those games. Growen said the park over the past 2 years now, we've raised money, which ended up going towards new fencing. So a new backstop, new dugouts for Field 1, which is pretty much the main field that's used by the town of Lewiston softball. The goal has always been to kind of revitalize that park and just bring it back and get the kids there. Not so much as for programs, but for everything. It's an underutilized park, just trying to get families somewhere for them to go and be able to spend a Friday night and have their kids in the park. They can sit under the pavilion and just kind of hang out. That has always been my vision for it. Rath said the fencing is already started. It is probably 90% up already. She said DPW Superintendent Greg Quarantio is going to do some additional work on the dugouts to put some roofs on it, to make it nicer in the summertime, get the sun out of their eyes. Plus, we'll start up our program that we have where people can sponsor banners that will put on the new fencing, advertising businesses or memorials for folks. They likely will start to see the bathroom construction in Faulkner Park this spring or summer. And then, hopefully, by probably late summer, you'll start to see some of the clearing work to be done for the actual trail. The village has got to go out and do their standard procurement process of getting 3 quotes from contractors. Additional items that Greg may take on this summer is actually laying out some of the path on the roadway, because some of it is actually on the roads in the village of Youngstown. So you'll start to see some of the actual bike path paintings on the road. In the past 2 years, the village of Youngstown embarked upon renovations in the recreation building, including the office and adjoining sidewalks and basketball courts, as well as the completion of a 9-hole disc golf course and pickleball court at Veterans Park. Mark your calendar. In addition to the recreation endeavors, we've taken over the Nancy Price Memorial Run, set for May 8th, Rath said. The Nancy Price Memorial Scholarship is given out each year to a graduating senior, total of $8,000 over 4 years. We've been doing a celebrity bartending event in the summer, Rath said, of FOY's major fundraising event. We've been co-sponsoring the Trunk or Treat, now for the village of Youngstown, for the Halloween party, and we've also sponsored Christmas in the village, Rath said. We'll probably also be doing an event this year for Save the Clock Tower, because the red brick clock tower is in really bad shape, but the community voice has been heard, and we want to save that as the history of the village, she said. FOY's fundraising focus items for 2026 are listed at www.foy17174.com/general-5. Stortecki said, on behalf of the Village of Youngstown Board, I would like to express our great appreciation to Christine Rath and Friends of Youngstown for all they do in the village. If only 2 years since its inception, FOY has already improved the beauty and safety of the community and has enriched the lives of Youngstown residents. Keep up with Friends of Youngstown at FOY14174.com and on Facebook at facebook.com/Friends of Youngstown. Porter schedules public hearings. The town of Porter will hold 2 public hearings prior to its regular meeting at Town Hall on Monday, March 9th. Sanborn Antique Show and Sale set. The Sanborn Area Historical Society will hold its Sanborn Antique Show and Sale on from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Saturday and Sunday, March 21st and 22nd at the Sanborn Farm Museum, 2660 Saunders Settlement Road, Route 31, Sanborn. Hot food will be available for purchase. A wide variety of items will be for sale. There is a $1 donation per adult, with funds going to the driveway restoration. For more information, call Bonnie at 716-957-4951. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Tribune Sentinel, covering Niagara County and Grand Island on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Marston. Wait and See on Seneca Sovereign Land. Article by Karen Carr Keefe. The town of Grand Island is open to working with the Seneca Nation, following word that the nation won tax-free status for the 207-acre parcel on Long Road that it gained from Equest Development for $1. The town and the board remain happy to work with the Senecas to figure out the best solution for the property. Supervisor Pete Marston said Monday, the U.S. Department of the Interior notified the nation on February 24th that its application was granted, placing more than 200 acres of its ancestral homelands on Grand Island into restricted fee status. Marston said, "We have not yet received any of the official documents or paperwork. Most of our input would be not based on anything other than media response. We haven't got the official document on the statement or the findings of the national government." Marston said the town is waiting on official word before we really have an opinion on where we would go from here. I did have a brief interaction with a couple of tribal members, and it was good, positive. He said he talked to Seneca Nation President J. Conrad Seneca and others. Basically, let's work together, but we don't know where we're at yet. We'll look at all the legal aspects and see where we're at and understand where this goes, Marston said. Of course, we're intrigued they're going to do something beneficial for us. We need to understand it all, he said. Right now, we're not talking with anything more than speculation. We really want the data and the hard facts, if you will, and the letters and the opinions and the legal stuff that comes with it. In December, AccuQuest development owners William and Michael Huntress transferred the title for more than 200 acres at 2780 Long Road, calling the Seneca Nation the rightful owners of Grand Island. The land is located west of I-190 between Long Road and Bedell Road. It currently has multiple zoning designations, with the eastern 141 acres closest to the I-190 zoned commercial and the western 66 acres zoned residential. The town fought against tax-free status for the Senecas, writing to Interior Secretary Douglas Burgum that removal of the land from the tax rolls would cause significant adverse impacts to the town and school district. The town also claimed the Seneca Nation's acquisition failed to meet the standard to qualify for tax-exempt status. President Seneca has been very positive about the future for the newly acquired land. We're excited to take this next step in making this piece of our ancestral homelands a vital part of the Seneca Nation's future, he said in a press release. Now that our permanent future on Grand Island is secured, the Seneca Nation will forever be connected. That community, Seneca added, we think there are significant opportunities for how the site can be developed to benefit the long-term future of the Seneca Nation and our people, as well as the surrounding community and region. We look forward to exploring these opportunities in the days ahead. Wheatfield considering change in garbage-related violation enforcement. Article by Benjamin Joe. A ticket due to garbage-related violations may become more likely as officials look towards changes in the Town of Wheatfield Town Code. The new law would allow constables to write tickets for violations such as leaving out garbage totes or illegal dumping. Formerly, tickets for garbage violations were in the jurisdiction of the town's Building and Code Enforcement Department, but according to Town Attorney Matthew Brooks, that may change. We're working on a draft of a new law to replace our Chapter 161 about solid waste, Brooks said in a brief phone interview. We're changing it with regard to one section, which talks about enforcing appearance tickets. We're going to add to that, and besides allowing our code enforcement officer to write tickets, our constables can write tickets as well. Violations will include putting out garbage totes too early, not bringing them back off the curb, and putting out too much garbage. Fines for the first offense could be up to $250 and up to 15 days in jail. Multiple offenses include fines from $250 to $1,000 and up to 15 days in jail. Brooks said the new changes will be discussed in the April 2nd Town of Wheatfield Town Board meeting, possibly to set up a public hearing at the following meeting. After that, he said he believed the changes in the code would be approved. Daniel Guer, deputy chief, said the new task will not be too onerous for him or his fellow constables. Currently, we give tickets for overnight parking in the winter months. We do issue tickets for expired registrations, expired inspections. It's just one more ticket. You fill it out, you file the paperwork with the court, and you move on from there, he said. Supervisor Don McSwain also commented on the changes. In short, I think instead of just having the building department be responsible for it, the constables, when they're on the road, if they catch someone dumping, they can issue a ticket for it. I think it's a good thing, he said. Grand Island Town Commons to get power upgrade. Article by Karen Carr Keefe. The Grand Island Town Board, at its Monday night meeting, approved a bid not to exceed $40,000 to upgrade the electrical service to the town commons area. In the board's workshop meeting, Supervisor Peter Marston said, "The town commons is never going to go anywhere without power. In fact, we oftentimes start the town Christmas tree with a generator because we'll create a blowout on the breaker. It's that bad out there." The resolution that passed said the Park Trust and Agency funds will be used to fund the project unless other outside funding becomes available. The town board also authorized the supervision to complete documentation for the $80,000 state grant for the Sandy Woods Trail project, which is off Huth Road. Accepted the proposal submitted by CNS Engineering for the town for on-call grant writing services for the town pending legal review of the contract. Approved authorization to advertise on March 6th for bids for the 2026 property maintenance bid contract, with bids to be open April 15th. In the public comment section for agenda items, Cherish Beals spoke in favor of a town renewing her special use permit to operate a bed and breakfast at 121 Amberwood Drive. We were able to rent 60 nights, though our bed and breakfast last year, to many people from all over the world, Beals said. She noted a lot of the guests have been people who either lived on the island or were coming here to visit family, and they appreciate the option of having a place to stay on the island, since those choices are limited, especially the families that travel with children. Beals added, "We refer guests to Say Cheese, Brick Oven, Dick and Jenny's all the time, and Island Ship Center, so we hope we're generating the local economy's business, and we've paid thousands of dollars in taxes as well. So we're grateful for the opportunity to be able to provide accommodations to people to stay here on Grand Island to contribute to the local economy." In the public comments period after the agenda was complete, there were two speakers. Bill Daniels asked the town board to help him contact a state official about needed safety upgrades to the intersection of South Parkway and Broadway, where his granddaughter, Leah Mayer, was killed as she crossed the street on September 11th, 2024. "I've been having trouble getting the state to do anything," Daniels said. He explained he has written letters, but has been unable to get a reply from Mark Mistretta, Director of the Niagara Region of the State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. The parkway is a state-owned and maintained road. So I'm asking the board here, and Pete, to advocate for a highway design study. Daniel said a study by Jim Jones, a professional engineer, recommending a roundabout at that location. Daniels said roundabouts have been known to reduce fatalities by 78%. He said an 11-year-old girl was fatally injured at that intersection 50 years ago as well. My granddaughter was 13 when she was killed, so since that time there's now ice rinks available and more traffic, Daniel said. He asked the board to request Mistretta to put in the budget the funds for a highway design study and funds for a possible roundabout, mini roundabout, or for a four-way stop before somebody else gets killed. Christopher Bouza voiced a plea for officials not to raise taxes in excess of the rate of inflation. My comment today is simple, and it just deals with taxation, he said. Everything starts with local government. So thank you for the opportunity for me to be heard. If the rate of inflation is approximately 2.47% and our taxes go up 5% after we do a reassessment, I just can't action on our properties. So I just ask that everyone please keep in mind every time we put in $1 million, every time we put in $1, just keep in mind where it's coming from, and please stick to the 2.47% or the rate of inflation, because otherwise I really can't see expending more and more and more. In the town board workshop meeting, Marston said that he learned from Mistretta that the state is starting a program this spring to help residents deal with invasive species. Marston said West River Road residents will be able to get state-approved list removed invasive species of vegetation from in front of their houses. Council members Dan Kilmer and Ron DeDeal attended the New York Association of Towns meeting and learned about an innovative way to the town to save money while generating energy to upload to the grid. This would involve setting battery storage facilities on town property and using the revenue to offset taxes and the battery output to power town systems. It was announced that National Night Out will be held Tuesday, August 4th in the town commons. This is a nationwide event that offers opportunities for children and adults to interact with local first responders. Last year, law enforcement agencies and the Grand Island Fire Department and highway departments were on hand with their vehicles, trucks, plows, and motorcycles. Local organizations, town advisory boards, and businesses also participated. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Tribune Sentinel covering Niagara County and Grand Island on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Gliding Stars of Western New York celebrates 20 years of inclusion with Milestone Ice Show. Gliding Stars of Western New York proudly announces its 20th annual ice show, a milestone celebration marking 2 decades of inclusion, perseverance, and achievement on the ice. The anniversary production, titled Gilding Stars, Shining Bright for 20 Years, will bring together skaters of all ages and abilities for a fully choreographed performance that highlights individual accomplishments and the power of teamwork. From toddlers as young as 18 months to adults and seniors, participants represent a wide range of abilities, love of skating, and the supportive community that makes it possible. Over 100 skaters and 150 volunteers will participate in the ice show, which brings together people who have been skating at rinks and West Seneca, and Lockport since October. Over the past 20 plus years, Gliding Stars has provided adaptive skating instruction to hundreds of athletes throughout Buffalo and the surrounding Western New York region. The annual ice show serves as the organization's largest celebration and fundraiser of the season, giving skaters the opportunity to perform in front of family, friends, and the community while showcasing the skills they have developed throughout the year. This year's performance, special anniversary performance, will take audiences on a walk down memory lane, featuring routines inspired by previous shows and honoring skaters and volunteers who have been part of the program since its earliest years. The event promises heartfelt moments, uplifting performances, and a powerful reminder of what can be achieved when inclusion and opportunity come together on the ice. The show will be held at Paddock Ice Arena in Tonawanda at 1 p.m. March 21st. Tickets are $11 pre-sale or $13 at the door. For the pre-sale tickets, call 716-608-8345. Admission is free for children ages 3 and under. Purchase tickets online at www.zeffy.com/en-us/gliding-stars-2026-ice-snow-gliding-bright-4-20-years. Gliding Stars of Western New York remains committed to its mission of providing individuals with disabilities the opportunity to increase their personal potential through the development of ice skating skills in a safe, accepting, and fun environment. Hope Day 2026, set for March 18th. Annual Day of Match Giving supports Appeal's $8 million goal. Article from Catholic Charities of Buffalo press release. Hope Day, the annual 24-hour match challenge day of giving to benefit Appeal 2026 in support of Catholic Charities of Buffalo and the Fund for the Faith is Wednesday, March 18th. The first $100,000 in donations will be matched dollar for dollar from generous sponsors including One Bridge Benefits, Energy Mark LLC, Laldy Insurance, Abbey Mecca Advertising, and the Franciscan Sisters of St. Joseph. All funds raised on Hope Day go towards the annual appeal's $8 million goal. As Western New York's most comprehensive human services provider, Catholic Charities touches the lives of nearly 1 in every 10 people in our region, said Chuck Hayes, Chief Communications and Development Officer for Catholic Charities of Buffalo. The number of people who can help is directly tied to the resources we receive. Your generosity and support help keep hope alive and determines how many of our neighbors in need we can help. On Hope Day, Appeal volunteers and Catholic Charities staff members will gather to make phone calls to past donors, giving them an opportunity to double their gift this year through the generosity of Hope Day sponsors. Hope Day is the perfect time for new donors to join our efforts to positively impact thousands who struggle with a wide range of challenges, Hayes added. The agency will mark Hope Day progress by placing colorful, two-dimensional tulip cutouts at the lawn of Catholic Charities Mandate Administrative Center on Delaware Avenue in Buffalo. Progress will also be posted on the agency's website at ccwny.org. Hope donations directly help Western New Yorkers by funding critical services like behavior health, food pantries, family stability programs, housing assistance, and support for older adults. All resources that stay in and provide hope across all 8 counties of Western New York. Said Dan Mecca, Appeal 2026 Chair. Since our first Hope Day in 2018, more than $3.4 million has been raised on Hope Days over the years, including a record $516,124 last year to help people in need find their next chapter. Appeal 2026 continues through June 30th and has currently raised nearly $3 million, or 37% of its goal to date. Donations may be made online at ccwny.org/donate or by calling 716-218-1400. Erie County Sheriff's Office report. The following Grand Island response activity occurred Thursday, February 19th to Wednesday, February 25th, according to the Erie County Sheriff's Office. ECSO deputies responded to 215 calls for the week of this report. During this period, deputies conducted multiple vehicle traffic stops. Deputies also responded to 3 business burglary alarms, 3 residential alarms, 3 welfare checks, 2 domestic unknown trouble calls, and 11 citizen assist calls. All 3 warrants served. Also 3 warrants served, 1 suspicious person call, 1 order of protection served, 3 violation of orders of probation, and several first aid calls handled. The following is a small sampling of the noteworthy incidents on Grand Island. Thursday, February 19th, East River Road, suspicious person. Complainant reports an unknown person wearing high visibility clothing and carrying tools walking on their property. Deputies located the subject and determined the individual was a contractor with an electrical company. Saturday, February 21st, Grand Island Boulevard, unwelcome guest. Complainant reports 2 intoxicated individuals lingering around their business. The individuals left without incident prior to patrol's arrival. Sunday, February 22nd, Winkler Road, suspicious person with vehicle. Complainant reports a suspicious van, possibly with a child inside, sitting in their driveway. Deputies arrived on scene and determined it was a delivery truck. No child was on location. Monday, February 23rd, Huth Road, deer struck. Complainant said an injured deer wandered up near his front porch and requested patrol's assistance. Deer was deceased upon patrol's arrival. Tuesday, February 24th, Riverdale Drive, fraud. Complainant reports her bank account was hacked and fraudulent transactions were made. Police report filed. Complaint referred to Detective Bureau for further investigation. Wednesday, February 25th. Long Road, Grand Island Boulevard, stop sign down. Stop sign was down at the intersection. Deputies installed a temporary stop sign until the highway department can replace or remove the sign. Lewiston's Next 10. Set stage for future. Town begins process for comprehensive plan update. Article by Terry Duffy. The town of Lewiston kicked off the process for its long-awaited comprehensive plan update in a public workshop for residents last Thursday, February 26th, at the Lewiston Senior Center, titled Lewiston's Next 10. The project sets the stage for the town's next steps. Visitors learned that Lewiston's comprehensive plan was last addressed in 2011, but it was never actually finalized by the town back then. Fast forward to 2025, and addressing today's growth challenges, Supervisor Steve Broderick and town board members approved for the Wendell Group of Williamsville to update the document in mid-2025. Development of Lewiston's Next 10 comprehensive plan is expected to have its focus in the area of planning and zoning, architecture, farming, and economic development over the next 10 years. Zoning and planning will consider such research areas as permitting history, trends, zoning review, and current land use. Potential recommendations include easements, incentives, updated codes, laws, and refining land use vision maps. Agriculture farming will focus on current agricultural districts, economic feasibility, green spaces, open space, and regional agricultural plans. Potential recommendations include reducing the cost of farming, increasing agriculture opportunities, and protecting farmland from development pressures. In economic development, targeted areas include the economic drivers, economic mobility, and the cost of living. Potential recommendations include business support endeavors, attracting employers and policy that adapts to change, and maximizing key development sites in the town. The Wendell Plan is expected to be finalized toward adoption by the town in November. Unfinished work. Nina Ballou, a Wendell planner, said that Lewiston essentially is combining its unfinished work of past plans with the hopes of creating one complete document this time around. It's a little bit confusing, she said, of the previous attempt in 2011. In the town of Lewiston, the last time a comprehensive plan was actually adopted was between 1999 and 2000. It was kind of written in the 90s and then adapted in 2000. And then in 2011, there was an initiative to do an update to that plan. Not a full rehab of that plan, but just an update. That project was never actually adopted. So what we're doing is we're kind of combining all three of those efforts, the 2000 version, the 2011 version, and now today's version. It is to create one comprehensive document that the town of Lewiston can lean on for the next 10-ish years. And then in about 10 years, we'll say, okay, break it all down and start all the way over and make a new plan. Blue said the town is now in the information phase. Tonight is gathering what those complaints are, understanding what is the problem and what is the need, she said. Then we're going to take all that feedback and the research that we're doing. Then we're going to start the next 6 months from now developing those solutions into a plan. The real point of today is to hear from all of you. I'm holding on to a lot of the results for a bit because we're going to go into that planning phase, Blue said, of residents' feedback from the workshop. Wendell reps will then begin their work on a basic report in the next few weeks derived from the workshop. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Tribune Sentinel, covering Niagara County and Grand Island on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Setting guidelines. Joining Blue were Wendell reps Katie, a GIS analyst in charge of mapping, and Corinne, also a Wendell planner who specializes in green energy. Corinne, who oversees municipal solar among other planning areas, commented on Lewiston's experience. I'm aware you guys have a couple of solar projects here, and I know there's different opinions of different people when it comes to welcoming solar and accepting its presence in the town. Solar is kind of tricky because it depends on the location of your substations. How much power you can have in the substations determines how much power and where solar fields are going to be in your town. You're really not supposed to outright ban solar, she said. You try to zone them in some places. Ideally, they go on a landfill, brownfield type of thing. If it's zoned properly, the town typically accepts that. I'm a fan of putting solar on brownfields and areas like that. Developers are going to look at whatever they can connect to the grid. Considering the nearby Lake Ontario Ordnance Work Site as one such potential location, she said, that would be awesome. We don't want them on farmland unless there's a farmer who really can't make their living otherwise. Most folks don't want it. Use zoning to determine where the town wants it is the best approach. She suggested that Lewiston use its new comprehensive plan as useful tool in the future. The comprehensive plan isn't going to be like a set-in-stone law, but it can give some guidelines, however the town wants to do it. Blue said one of the major components of this plan, in the face of economic development, is that we want to preserve and enhance the rural and agriculture nature of the town of Lewiston. We've been talking about a couple different ideas to make farming and agriculture more viable, so that farms can hold on to their land, rather than sell properties for solar or battery storage type operations in the town. We are working to come up with different solutions. Among Wendell's idea is the use of an overlay zones in determining zoning criteria. They're kind of creative ways to have two kinds of zoning that puzzle pieces piece together, Blue said. She called a greater use of outdoor recreation and conservation overlay zones as being one possibility for Lewiston as the plan is developed. I'm not sure how it would affect the housing development, but it would encourage the kind of uses that are complementary to agriculture and discourages ones that aren't. Blue said, so maybe it would discourage subdivision style housing that are smaller or multifamily and encourage alternatives like larger residential plots. Something like that is where our brains are, she said. For more information and updates on Lewiston's Next 10 project, visit the Town of Lewiston's Facebook page at www.facebook.com/Town of Lewiston NewYork.gov or contact Building Inspector Ed Zimmerman at 716-754-8213, extension 243. DPW Center stage at Village of Lewiston meeting. Could Lewiston Louie be coming around next winter? Article by Joshua Maloney. As snow has subsided in the Village of Lewiston, the Department of Public Works is shifting its attention to other projects. First up, we are going to be starting the Water Street Water Infrastructure Project. Superintendent Anthony Mang told trustees at Monday's work session. Basically, we're going to be transferring all services from the west side of the street to the east side of the street, getting all those residents off of the antiquated 4-inch line to the existing 6-inch line on the east side of the street, he said. We expect everybody to have better water quality, higher volume, better pressure, the whole thing from that. It's going to reduce outages because that 4-inch line is in really bad shape. Start to finish, Mang said he expects the work to take about 3 weeks, depending on weather. The project's going to result in some temporary water suspension for services on South Water Street. Mang noted, notifications and dates for water outages are going to follow once we dial everything in. Mang next shared the big pickup for the month of May. Our week-long big pickup is going to start May 4th and go through the 8th. Then we are going to be doing a fire hydrant inventory inspection and repair and replace program this summer, Mang said. Residents should be aware that we're going to see us out and about flushing hydrants, exercising them, water in the front yards kind of scenario. It's all part of our process to see which hydrants work, which ones don't, which ones can be repaired, which ones need to be replaced. The flushing program in general promotes better water quality. You get more chlorine in your system and get that dirty water out from behind those valves. Mang also shared our stormwater annual progress report certification was due. I'm pleased to announce that it is ready for reviewing. Mayor Ann Welch will be signing that form today at this meeting, so it's official. The MS4 stuff. MS4 stands for Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. Mang explained the Village of Lewiston works annually with the Stormwater Coalition to ensure that our local waterways are protected from illicit discharge, which is defined as any release into a storm drain system or waterway that is not composed entirely of stormwater, such as sewage, chemicals, oils, or waste. They are a non-permitted, often illegal discharge of contaminants, which can result in heavy fines. We have developed a plan to track down such illicit discharge if and when it's detected at our monitoring locations, Mang said. This track-down process is to prevent further contamination and to hold the persons responsible for the pollution accountable. We're also going to be working on providing literature to the residents outlining ways that they can help prevent and report illicit discharge within the community. Currently, you can report illicit discharge to the Village of Lewiston's clerk's office by calling 716-754-8271 or by emailing superintendent@villageoflewiston.com. The 2025 Annual Report Progress Certification for the Village of Lewiston is available for viewing at the Red Brick Municipal Building, 145 North 4th Street, and online at www.villageoflewistonny.gov. Lewiston Louie? Trustee Nick Conde suggested Lewiston tie into the popular prognostication made each winter by a certain famous groundhog. I just wanted to throw an idea by the board. Every year I have the same idea with the groundhog. We could get a groundhog, he said. We could call him Lewiston Louie. Conde said he's spoken with a local petting zoo about logistics. We would own Louie, but we'd have to support him at his new home. Mang said native animals can't be owned. A permit would be required. Welch was less than enthusiastic. Not for nothing, but I watched it one time. The mayor that did it picked up the groundhog, Punxsutawney Phil, and he bit him right in the face. So this mayor's not getting bit, she said. When talk turned to Lewiston Louie's wardrobe, perhaps a top hat and glasses, Welch told Conde, tongue-in-cheek, that was a great idea, and we'll wait for your next great idea. I don't want my picture taken with this animal hanging off my face, Welch said, as the board laughed. The clerk's office suggested Conde check with the Upward Niagara Chamber of Commerce. Joshua Maloney guests on new episode of Tee It Up with Phil and Cindy. Want to know more about NFP's Joshua Maloney? Check out the latest episode of Tee It Up with Phil and Cindy, where he shares more about local news. The Tribune Sentinel Dispatch.
The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability